Welcome to Lower the Bar with John and Joe. Remember to breathe. This is your Power Hour. Hey everybody, welcome back. I am John, this is Joe, and you guys know the drill. And we are happy to be here with you again.
Yes, we are.
Aren't we, Joe?
Yes, we are. This is podcast 8?
Yeah.
Podcast 8.
I hope you remember.
It is.
Yes. How was your week?
My week was great. Great.
Yeah.
I did a lot of the things, the techniques that you taught, and I have been doing them every day, and it's just amazing how it changes your day. I feel so empowered. But sometimes I feel so empowered that I feel like, am I really here?
Okay.
Yeah. But that's how empowered you feel.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack right
Okay,
there.
all right.
No, I'm kidding. I'm great. I am, for those of you listeners who are listening and can't see, I am a plethora of red today. This is post-Valentine's Day. I should have worn this on Valentine's Day. But I had a great week. I've been doing the exercises as well. For those of you who don't know, I gave an exercise on manifestation, drinking water, putting intent in a glass, and letting the sunlight multiply the emotion, the intention, which is our topic today, setting intention, in the glass to amplify, and then you drink it. Well, there are a number of people that got back to me that said it was wonderful, they felt amazing. Well, my experience was not that great. I mean, it was wonderful, amazing going through it, but it wasn't pleasant for me personally. I was clearing a lot of energy, a lot of cell memory, which we're going to talk about in our next episode.
Yes.
But
how to do that.
Yeah, but it was pretty rough for me, Joe. I really want to be honest with you. Most people would have wound up in the hospital thinking they were having a heart attack or their lungs were collapsing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I had weird sensations in my chest, tingling in my arms, weird pains in my kidneys, my liver, weird sensations
when you
going
drank
on.
the water at night?
When I drank the water, yes. About 10 minutes later, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it lasted a couple of hours, at least.
And when it was over, how did you feel?
Good question. I felt better because I wasn't experiencing the physical manifestations. I wasn't feeling the pains in my heart, and that wasn't going on. But I felt like I transitioned through something. Like I could feel like I almost was leveling up, like I was clearing old energies. And by the way, there's a lot of things going on now cosmically that are bringing up a lot of these emotions, the cell memory. Again, we're going to talk about this in our next podcast, but a lot of deep-seated emotions, feelings, traumas that we've experienced in past lives.
Oh,
so it's not.
So some of us have had hundreds of past lives.
Yes, but what's happening now cosmically in the universe, this kind of alignment that's supporting this narrative, this is all your lives, Joe. This isn't just like your last life or your past life. All the emotions and everything that you've gone through in all of your lives, whether it's been 3 or 1,000, is now coming to a head. And we are meant to identify it, clear it, and understand what we need to do so we can move through it. But the beautiful thing now is the universe is supporting this, because even like a year ago, even the people that have this kind of awareness, that know this is going on, would have had a much harder time expressing that or clearing it. But the energies, the Schumann resonance.
Just the awareness.
Yes.
The awareness of it. So that you don't go to the hospital thinking you're having a heart attack.
We had talked about this in one of the earlier podcasts. There are a lot of energies that are going on and a lot of manifestations that are happening in the body. I had, a few months ago, many of my patients had gone to the doctor. They ran tests, diagnostics, and everything came back negative.
Yeah.
You know, you're describing a heart attack to us, but we're reading your vitals and looking at all
There's
your numbers,
nothing there,
and
yeah.
there's nothing there. Everything is completely normal. So this is a reflection of transformation. Our bodies being recoded, things happening. And again, we are taught the complete antithesis, the complete opposite of this, that it's all woo-woo. This is all bullshit. This doesn't happen. But
Who's recoding us?
not who, what.
What is recoding us?
Gamma light. It
Okay.
only takes 40 to 80 hertz of gamma light to recode our
From the
DNA
sun.
from the sun,
Okay.
which comes here after a solar flash in 8.5 minutes.
And we've had lots of solar
Yes,
flashes recently.
it takes a few days for the gamma light, the ionic radiation, the plasma, those things to come to Earth. But the gamma light happens immediately. It just comes and it impacts our bodies. So a lot of this is going on. It's intentional. We are meant to elevate. We are meant to level up. This is what's happening to the collective in the universe right now. So that's what's happening. So let's talk about intent, Joe, and setting an intention for your day and how important that is.
That's what I was going to ask you. Why is it important to set an intention? What's the benefit of it?
Okay.
I mean, I know, but I didn't used to know.
Okay, how can I break this down? It's perfect example. I don't know why this just came to me, but you're having a dinner party and your guests are over. Now, do you want to set the dinner table right before you eat dinner, or do you have that dinner table set in the afternoon? What happens to you? Like, oh crap, I got to set the table. Where are we going to eat, right? That creates
No,
anxiety,
Yes.
uncertainty.
I would do it much earlier to relax.
Right, but as most people would,
Stuff
if you're
always
having,
comes up.
it's a similar kind of energy
Yeah.
because you're setting the table, so
You're
to speak.
preparing the path
Yes, for your day,
for success.
which is very important. We don't really think about that. We don't really pay attention to that, but it really has an impact. And you might do it once and not see anything, but if you keep, again, repetition, we talk about this in almost every podcast. It's the only way the brain fires a new neural pathways. So we keep repeating this behavior, it begins to change. The flesh and the blood follows. It just naturally, exponentially happens. And then things begin to change in our life, and we begin again to create a world of what we need and want for ourselves. You know, we can't fail, Joe. There's no failure. We just hold ourselves back.
Setting intention is also another way to manifest. But yeah.
Yeah. That's a very important way to
Yeah.
manifest.
Because you're setting intention for what you want and how it's going to go.
Absolutely. So we mentioned this in the last podcast. So I want to give a mantra to our audience that will be very helpful, and I'll explain why. There are 3 parts to it. The first is that you are here. You are presenting yourself in the universe. The second part of it is where this energy is coming from that feeds you. And then the third piece of the Trinity is claiming your space now, bringing yourself present. It's not just that you're here, but you're present in the now, because now is the infinity, and now is where everything unfolds in our world.
It's really the only time that counts.
Exactly.
You can't change the past.
Or we constantly live in the future, which is always anxiety and stress. So life unfolds in the now, and this is what takes us there. So I'm going to go over it. So the first part of it is, I am love. Second is, I am light. So that's the first part of the Trinity. And each part of the Trinity has 2 pieces to it, just like we have free will. The yin and the yang, the 2 poles of the universe, the polarity. The second part of it is, I am the power of Source. I am the strength of Source, which now acknowledges a higher power and where these energies are coming from. And the final part of the Trinity is, If I were meant to be another, I would have been. So that's the first part of it. And the second completion is, but I decided to be here now.
Now.
Yes, which brings you present.
It also is very empowering.
Yes.
I decided.
Exactly.
Now.
Because you're taking ownership. You're getting this power from Source. You're claiming your space in the universe. But by saying, I decided, you really make that internal connection.
Absolutely. And it shows that you believe that you did make a pact to come into the body that you came into the family that you came into. And I know not everybody believes that, but you and I believe that, and millions of other people, that we made a pact for the purpose of learning lessons and teaching. And when you say, I decided to be here now, I think that gives clarity to that belief.
Yes. But I think it's important that our listeners understand that that doesn't necessarily mean your day's going to be beautiful in bliss state. You know, things happen that are uncomfortable, that make us, that upset us or whatever, but they're all learning tools.
They're all purposeful.
Exactly. Everything that happens to us is only about us, and I always talk about that. So we need to understand that it has a purpose and that we're meant to look at it. But setting that intent keeps you grounded and helps you stay in your power. Because you're proclaiming your space. You're holding space for yourself every time you do that.
And the more often you do that, the easier it is to recognize when something happens and you all of a sudden you're losing your power and you go, oh, it's easier to come back to your power because you recognize both feelings.
Yes. Yeah, true. So how do you find it helps you, or personalize it? Because I think our listeners need to know what we go through and what we experience.
Yeah, because all day long I work with clients in hypnosis, and my main purpose is to guide them through the goals they've decided. Not my goals for them, but their goals. So I begin my day by setting an intention. And now I meditate at least twice a day for 20 minutes. That's something I do. I do Seventh Path. And that's what I teach my clients to do. Very, very effective. But now I'm starting my day. I usually do the Seventh Path before I even get up. I'm just laying there because I always wake up early. And then when I go downstairs, that's when I put the glass of water. And I meditate, probably just for 5 minutes, do the ball technique and put in light, love, harmony, and prosperity, and put it in the window. And I always say when I'm done, I'll be back. That's just my little thing.
That's cute.
I'll be back later to drink you. So, and I believe that when I come back, what I've put in there will be multiplied. I don't take everything because I need some for the day. So I just put in there, because I have a lot. I just put in, I really give this a lot of thought.
I can see that.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So my experience with it since I've been doing this exercise has not been that great, but not in a bad way. I don't judge it, but again, I've spoken to people who have said, oh my gosh, I can't believe how I feel. This is wonderful. My experience was not that at all. It was uncomfortable. It was alarming, scary, but
I don't think it'll stay that way.
No. Oh, no, I'm not worried or on any level like that because I know I'm just moving through energies.
Yeah.
I'm clearing old vibrational stuff that I need to clear. That's all. I'm okay with it, but it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it.
But it would be interesting to know what they really were.
Well, they were old cell memory.
I know. But it would
Past
be interesting
traumas.
to know what they were exactly. At least I would find that interesting, to know what mine were. It really wouldn't serve a purpose except to maybe get you more upset, but that just would be interesting.
Okay, I get that.
So today when you do it, tonight when you get home and you do it, we'll see what happens. It could be either way.
It's different every time. It's
Yeah.
never the same.
I wonder how the body determines whether today you'll get rid of some real bad stuff or not.
I think that is determined by how ready you are. You know, again, in that narrative, doing this exercise, there's no failure. Whatever you allow yourself to go through, you allow yourself to go through. So you just hold yourself back. If you're not ready to release energies, you're not going to release them. And that's when
I'm just going to say, if you weren't ready, why would you be doing it? You know?
Well, you have an awareness of the work you need to do. So sometimes we're not in that place, but if, again, cell memory is released through doing an exercise, repeating it over and over again. You want to change that paradigm. You want to shift out of that vibration. You're nurturing and you're allowing yourself to feel, to be present. Again, remember, you need to be present. If you're not present, you're in thought, right? And thought is not being present. You're clearing your mind. You're a giant sieve. You don't want to be in thought. You just want to feel. You want to be present. And this is when kind of the minutia of all of these energies that are coming up in you begin to bubble up to the surface and be released. That's why they're coming to the surface, so you can transmute them and clear them. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't know how to do that or what to do.
That's what I was going to say. First of all, when you tell people you can't be in thought, most people will say that's impossible. But it's not impossible. It's not. You might want to focus on envisioning your cells that are filled with good memories and negative memories. Envision your cells and don't think about anything else. Just picture your body, tell yourself that you love it, and just envision the bad stuff leaving. So you're going to have some thought, but not thoughts of other things. Just thoughts about what you're doing, because that really makes you present.
True. That process, Joe, is how you begin to plant new memory seed atoms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, letting whatever's in the cell to clear, and then you're sort of planting love. You're planting light. You're planting benevolence, kindness, compassion. So you're replacing the old memory that is dark, that carries a lot of negative energies to it, whether it's shame, guilt, anger, rage, you know, however it's expressed, and it's expressed differently in every single person because we're all individuals, but it's planting that new memory seed atom in its place. So now the cell can multiply and flourish because those energies of darkness, of anger, rage, shame, whatever that is, keeps that cell vibrating in a lower frequency, in a lower density. So when we can understand that, begin to really sort of almost envision that, we can now let go of it and again transfer these new memory seed atoms in its place. So now we've created stasis, which is balance in the cell itself. The cell begins to vibrate at a much higher frequency. It begins to oscillate at a much higher frequency. The memory seed atoms inside the cell itself begin to spin faster. The spin rate, the oscillation is quicker, which exponentially, inherently raises your vibration. Because something that's dormant isn't going to set off the same energy, something that's spinning, that has movement. It creates energy. So that's kind of what's happening here. You're taking a cell that's basically dormant and bringing light to it to make the spin rate of the atom spin faster. So you're creating light because we're light beings. We emit iodes. We can't really see them, but we do. We are light beings. We are crystalline light bodies.
Well, I also think that when you're talking about intent, if someone has an area in their body that isn't feeling good, that may be even diseased, send that visual, do the visualization of that part I mean, you want to clear all your cells, but I personally would be envisioning that part of my body where I initially want all the cells to be cleared and filled. And I use a metaphor in my practice when I teach seventh path of a cauldron.
Okay.
And you can fill that
That's a little
cauldron.
spooky.
No. If you look at the back of the seventh path book, it's a cauldron of your past, present, and future, which this is too. It's all your
Okay.
lives. So I tell them, if you fill that cauldron with positivity, love, light,
Right,
whatever,
right.
positivity, it's heavy. Why is it so heavy? And it goes right to the bottom because it's nutritious. Metaphor, nutritious.
Right.
Okay? And what happens is the negative stuff in there is light and fluffy and has no value. So it goes to the top and overflows. And that's what I would envision. Although I'm going to envision the cells when I'm trying to clear cell memory and put new stuff in. But it's kind of like the cauldron.
Yeah, but I think it's almost the complete antithesis because the lower density cells drop to the bottom. And as you get rid of them, kind of like in the metaphor, when we're talking in metaphors, the cream rising to the top,
Okay.
the new cell memory is the cream.
Okay.
You're right in your analogy, but
It's just the opposite.
Right.
But I mean, no matter how you look at
Right.
it, the
Right.
purpose is to set an intent that's going to help you.
and replacing the old energy, the old
And
vibration, the
improving yourselves.
negativity,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yes.
Yeah, you're replacing it. Well, that's kind of what we do when we plant new memory seed atoms in our cells. And there are ways to do that. And part of it, I want our audience to understand, is setting an intent helps you achieve your goal. Again, you're setting the table, metaphorically. You're not panicking when the guests arrive and they're sitting down, being self now. So you're prepared for what's coming at you. You have a better understanding of what's happening to you so you can identify, integrate it, and then clear it, because that's literally the process of life, of what we're meant to do. Things that bring us joy, we do the same thing. We identify joy or love, we receive it, and then we integrate it in our heart space. It's the same thing with cell memory. We learn to identify it, integrate it, understand it, so we can clear it. Because if you don't understand it or know what you're doing, then it's just, you're going through the motions. There's no connection to the moment. And that's the most important thing, is connecting to the moment.
Connection.
Connection. That's it. It's that's taking kind of energy to its lowest integer. What brings us together? I'm just being hypothetical. Take 9/11. It's the same energy. If we all remember what it was like right after those moments, were we horrified? Yes, but there was a collective energy of love, of light. It brought us all together around the world.
Yes.
People were connected. It really was amazing. I was there. I was at Ground Zero when it happened. I watched them jumping out of the buildings. It was very impactful for me. But as bad as that moment was, what impacted me the most of that experience was how everyone came together. I lived in New York City at the time. People were, during the day, people would just come up to you and give you a hug. Are you okay? Like, this is the world we are meant to live in.
Yeah.
That kind of compassion, that kind of benevolence. We are all one. We are a collective. And that's what this is really about, is connections.
Connections. And especially
Shared
with ourselves.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
the same narrative of shared experiences,
Yeah.
connecting to ourselves.
And being able to control the health of our bodies.
Yes.
And look at you and I work with clients all the time who are also in the process of going through diseases. They're working with their doctors. They're also working with us, and we're teaching them how to clear their cells. It is, I was going to say an alternative, but not just an alternative. It's other things that clients do when they're really sick. It's a different modality that's very helpful in getting them well. Is teaching them how to clear their cells.
Yes. Well, if we're talking about metaphors, we're teaching you guys how to fish. We're not just feeding you, we're teaching you how to fish, giving you the tools to understand what you need to do to elevate your consciousness, to integrate all of these energies and to heal yourself.
And
It's
create
not just
the journey you want.
living longer, thriving, not just existing. You know, all of these opportunities, and I'll phrase it as opportunities, all of this is available to everyone. I don't care if you live in a ghetto or you live in a white pearly mansion on top of a hill. It doesn't matter. All of this information, all of these energies are accessible to everyone. And that's what we need to know. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's great. And I think that we really need to do a complete episode on how to clear your memory, what to do. And so let's do that next time.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So next time we're going to talk about that. And I want to talk about intention a little bit more. I have a book I'd like to recommend by Carolyn Myss. It's called Sacred Contracts. For those of you who are not seeing us on YouTube, Sacred Contracts is by Caroline Myss, M-Y-S-S, Awakening Your Divine Potential. And she has about 15 pages of what kind of phrases to use when you're creating intentions. And maybe you don't need somebody to prompt you into what to say, but they're so interesting. And a lot of people do. They go, I don't know what to say. Let's say you're ill. She suggests, I am open to receiving one healing insight about stress patterns and this illness. Or I'm open to receiving insight to help me move forward in clearing this illness. So there's one on creativity, one on finances, reconciliation. There's so many in here, and they're all very interesting. Working with competition, loneliness. I'm open to guidance about how best to cope in the moment with my emotions related to being so lonely. And I know...
I don't mean to interject.
Oh, that's okay, no.
I think this is really important, especially talking about that. Everyone that's listening to this program needs to know that we are all unconditionally loved. That we pop out of the womb, we are unconditionally loved by Source and Spirit and our guides and angels. They are always around us and they are here to help us. So as alone as you feel, and I've lived that kind of isolation, I want to let everyone know that you are never alone. Even though you might feel that, the reality is you are never alone. And I think that's really important that our listeners understand that narrative, Joe.
I do too, but I think that when you're in that situation, it's hard to believe.
Yes, of course.
It's hard. Maybe you believe it, but you don't feel like it.
I get that.
Yeah.
But if on any level that narrative can bring some kind of comfort, some kind of solace, some kind of integration that gives perspective, you know, as down and out as you feel, you know, you can change that paradigm in the snap of a finger. Remember, every infinity is the now. So if we look at it that way, every moment that unfolds from that moment of where we feel alone and isolated means we have a new opportunity to change that around, to pivot 180 degrees and go in the complete opposite direction of that moment.
But you know that feeling is very complex.
Well, yes, I do.
It's very entangled with feeling like you're not enough.
I understand all the emotions that come
Yeah.
up, but I am here to let everyone know that we are all capable of moving through that. That we are our own worst enemies. We hold ourselves back because, again, remember, there's no failure. We just hold ourselves back because we come here to learn. So if we look at it through those optics or that lens, there's no failing. In the immortal words of Buddha, every tragic experience or every trauma that we have is a teaching moment, a learning experience. No truer words were said. And that's how we stay in our power, because we take ownership at that moment. We
Yes.
understand that what happens to us is only about us because we're the only ones that can change it. Another thing I really want to talk about, and when you were talking about a bunch of things, it made me think of this, Joe. It's important to pray, right? We pray. And I think that's an important part of this narrative. But I think it's, I don't want to say more important, but meditation is such an important piece to health and wellness. And let me explain why. Prayer is outside yourself. You're calling to a higher source. You're asking for God to come and bring you money or good health or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's outside yourself. Meditation is a directive. You are in your power. You are in control. You are manifesting from within at that moment, because you are God, you are Christ. You have that consciousness, that awareness at that moment when you are internal. And you are giving a directive. You are setting an intent, so to speak, getting back, kind of coming full circle of what this episode is about, setting intentions. You are in control. Prayer is beautiful, but it's kind of outside yourself. Now, in conjunction together, prayer and a meditation, you really kind of bring all of those energies together, and they have bigger impact.
And there's so many different kinds of meditation.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
We need to have an episode on just
Yes.
meditations, because
Ver-
people think that they need to think nothing
Right.
and just be.
Listen,
and you don't have to. Do
another
that to
important
meditate.
thing that I want to let our audience know is you make it your own. You make it your own modality. You make it your own meditation. What works for you, what takes you to that place, will only take you to that place. Again, coming from the narrative of we are all individuals, what works for A doesn't necessarily work for B and C. So however it feels right for you is what you should do. So whatever we're telling you, if you want to change a word or change a thing that's happening to you, go ahead. Who are we to say that? What's most important is that you feel it, that it has impact on you, because that's all that matters is you in this kind of narrative. So,
I think it's time to close out.
yes.
So I just want to remind you, Sacred Contracts, Awakening Your Divine Potential by Caroline Miss.
Great book.
And we'll see you, or
Great book,
you'll
Joe.
hear us next week.
Absolutely.
Depending on your choice of listening or viewing. We'll talk to you then.
It was great to bring you guys this information this week, and we send you love and light and want you to make this coming week a beautiful week for yourself. Remember, hold space for yourself, self-care, love yourself, and lead with love. Have compassion, benevolence for others.
It's contagious.
It is.
Have a great week.
Bye.